Hello students, welcome to Recitals in Depth, April 2024 by Vajiram and Ravi. Here we will be discussing about world mapping. In this discussion, we will take the world geographical locations which has occurred in the current events for any specific reason, let it be history or international relations or geography or environment. We will discuss the geographical point of view for that particular location. Hello students. Welcome to Recitals in Depth, April 2024. Here we will be discussing about well mapping. Within the well mapping, the first one we will discuss is Afar triangle or depression, right? It appeared in Recitals 2024 under the topic of Afar triangle or Afar depression in page 85, right? So with respect to the geography of the regions, the Afar triangle has been present in easternmost part of Africa, which is adjoining, which has been spread across 3 countries. They have been present in the countries of Eritrea, Djibouti and Ethiopia, right? And Arthur, as the name says, depression, it's a low-lying region. It's a low-lying region present in the easternmost part of Africa adjoining Red Sea. The easternmost part of Africa adjoining the Red Sea. It's a part of African Rift Valley. It's a part of African Rift Valley. We will discuss African Rift Valley in detail in the slides to come. The important uniqueness of Afar triangle and Afar depression is earliest known fossils of humans. Earliest known fossils of humans are present in Afar triangle. Earliest known fossils is known in Afar triangle. The region is also known for volcanism and geothermal energy. Known for geothermal energy and volcanism. The second one, within the Afar triangle, we do have Danakil depression. The Danakil depression is present in the trijunction of 3 tectonic plates. Trijunction of 3 tectonic plates. And we also do have Danakil desert and salt pans. The region also possesses Danakil deserts and salt pans. See, this is because of the climate of the region. If you look into the region is extremely hot because of the extreme amount of hot and the latitude zone that they have been present in the regions, where subduction of air mass is been taking place in subtropical high pressure belt, because of which clear skies, high amount of insolation, less amount of precipitation, the region becomes a desertic environment. And as there is a large amount of salt presence, so how did the salt presence comes? See, the Danakil depression and the Afar triangle, which is very closer towards the shore regions, and we also discussed it is a low-lying area. This is formed because of movement of tectonic plates. Consider African plate, Arabian plate and Asian plate. They are moving in different directions. Right? The plate is not moving in the same directions. The tectonic plates are moving in different directions, because of which we do know the Rift Valley is being formed and the low-lying depression is also being formed. With this, inundation by the sea. So the sea inundation, tectonic activity, all this has resulted in creation of Danakil depression and Afar triangle, right? This has resulted in creation of the entire low-lying region. salt pans are also being formed. Inundation by the sea, high amount of evaporation leaving the salt behind, excess amount of salt production comes from this region. Apart from this, the region is also known for Lake Asal, lowest point in Africa, is present in Afar triangle. Moving further, hope taken. As we discussed about Afar triangle, and in the Afar triangle we discussed about the rift valley of the regions. This is the rift valley that has been present in African regions. As we said, there are the very basics of plate tectonics you do know very well, right? So plates are being based upon their movement. Tectonic plates are classified into three types. We call them as convergent plate boundaries, divergent plate boundaries, and transform plate boundaries. See, to understand it, if you can think in terms of your college days, your good friendship that has been created. The very first day you see someone you might not know over a period of time, you vibe with them, you have a very good amount of rapport with them, you become a good amount of friends. Two different people coming in contact with each other, convergence takes place. Later point of time, maybe there is some amount of misunderstanding, divergence takes place. So plates also react in a similar manner. If the plates are moving together towards each other, the denser plate will subduct and the lighter plate rises above, right? So consider two plates moving with each other. When they come into contact, the denser plate subducts, lighter plates buckles up, and we create a convergent plate boundary. Similarly, there is a possibility one plate, when they move away from each other, we have the divergent plate boundaries, right? So consider this is one plate and this is another plate. If the plate moves with each other, there can be a convergent plate boundary. There can be one plate and there is a possibility of the plate getting broken and they diverge from one place to another. There is a possibility of divergence that can happen. This will be divergent plate boundaries. So we do have convergent and divergent, right? Within this, here what we see in African case is the divergent plate boundaries. The plates move away from each other. African plate moving towards one side, Nubian plate, East African plate moving towards other side, where there is a long rift has been created, a valley is also been created, what we call as African rift valley, right? African rift valleys are continuous trenches for close to 7,000 kilometers of continuous trenches. African rift valleys are 7,000 kilometers of continuous trenches. In the diagram, you can see a pink color shaded portion of resemblance to white color shape. We call it as African rift valley. And within this, you will be able to see large number of water bodies are also being present. Water bodies have been present in the pink shaded portions within the African rift valleys. We call them as rift valley lakes. These are several. Here we have taken only the most important ones, the most prominent lakes, but we do have several deep elongated lakes, what we call as ribbon lakes, or in other words, rift valley lakes. Several deep elongated lakes called as ribbon lakes or rift valley lakes. And the most prominent will include Lake Turkana, Lake Malawi, also called as Nyanza, Lake Tanganyika, Lake Rukwa, Albert, Edward, and Kivu. See, to make it much easier, we will make a mnemonics towards it, right? And this you can use it over your exams if Rift Valley related questions comes with respect to it. So you do consider there are two siblings, Albert and Edward, who have been eating a fruit, kiwi. Here in this case, Albert, Lake Edward, kiwi will become Lake Kivu. We do have two lakes, Lake Turkana and Lake Tanganyika. Both starts with T. You will be another prominent lake, which is not a Rift Valley lake, will be present above the Lake Turkana. We call it as Tana. So it will rhyme over one another. Tana, Turkana, Tanganyika. The Rift Valley lakes includes Turkana and Tanganyika. We do have a country called Malawi. The lake is also called by the name Malawi. Right? So Albert and Edward consuming a fruit kivu, right? Kiwi, Albert, kivu, Turkana and Tanganyika, and the country Malawi, lake is also Malawi. Right? Hope taken. Moving on to the next is Djibouti, right? Djibouti, if you look into the Djibouti country, right, which are the Eritrea and the surrounding regions, you will be able to see most important strait will also be present, right? So we do know Red Sea is available, Gulf of Aden will be there. Both are connected by a strait called as Strait of Bab el-Mandeb, which adjoins Djibouti, right? Which is a choke point, which is the most important place within the international sea route through the Suez Canal reaching Indian Ocean regions, Strait of Bab el-Mandeb. See, these straits have been most important when it comes to preliminary point of view and mains. Last year, there has been a question on mains discuss about the economic importance of isthmus and straits, where this is a most important part when the sea route moves through Suez Canal to Indian Ocean regions. Moving further, in page number 71, you will be able to see the discussion on UK, United Kingdom passes a bill to deport asylum seekers to Rwanda. We will discuss only about the Rwanda, right? Rwanda, the most important features with respect to it is Rwanda is a landlocked country. Rwanda is a landlocked country, right? If you look into it, this country, Rwanda, is a very smaller country in the center part of Europe, center part of Africa. Sorry, within this African regions, we will have a 3 continuous small countries will be there, right? Which can go by the code word called as brew, the brew coffee that you will have. Burundi, Rwanda, Uganda, right? So Rwanda will be sharing its border at the top with Uganda and with the south with respect to Burundi, and on the eastern side we do have Tanzania, and on the western side we do have with respect to Congo, right? Rwanda shares border with Uganda, Burundi, Tanzania, Democratic Republic of Congo. Number 1. See, when it comes to prelims, if the question has to be asked, they might ask whether it is a landlocked country or a shares border with respect to the coast. That will be the picture to be put across, right? Second, the other important geographical features with Rwanda, as we just discussed, Lake Kivu, Lake Albert, Lake Edward, Lake Kivu, Rift Valley lakes. So Rwanda will fall under the Rift Valley regions, and Lake Kivu will also be present with respect to it. Rwanda will fall under the Rift Valley, and we do have Lake Kivu present in the regions. The most important river, moving to the next point, the most important river of Rwanda, this one. Gango. The river has its mouth in Lake Victoria. The important river of Rwanda is Barango, and it has its mouth in Lake Victoria. Hope copied. Moving to the next one. Right. The Schengen area has 29 countries. We just discussed that European Union has 27 countries. Out of the 27 countries, 25 countries agree to the Schengen Agreement and Schengen Convention. So out of this 29, 25 from European Union will come, right? Plus another 4 countries from non-European Union countries will be there. They are also part of Europe as a continent, but they did not agree to European Union norms. These 4 countries includes number 1, Iceland, number 2, Norway, number 3, Switzerland, number 4, which is a very small country which is present in the part adjoining to the regions of Switzerland, which is Liechtenstein. These 4 countries are not part of European Union, but have signed to be part of Schengen area. Hope copied. So I move on to the next geographical location, which is recently we found vortex rings have been formed during the eruptions of volcano in the Mount Etna. First, we will go on with respect to Mount Etna. Mount Etna is present in Sicily, Italy, one of the most active volcano in the world, most popular as well, one of the largest volcano, and it has its own dating from 1500 BC in terms of its eruptions. We have recorded that this particular volcano is been erupting from 1500 BC, and till date you would have easily recorded more than 200 plus eruptions. So active volcano, most popular and one of the largest volcanoes, regularly have been in news. Second part is like it has different styles and various kinds of eruptions, from violent explosive eruptions to a smooth lava flow has also been formed by Mount Etna. Right? Copied. The next one, with respect to Etna producing volcanic vortex rings. See, consider this part is a volcano, right? And I do have a small opening. In a very simple layperson terms, because of the amount of hydrostatic, because of the amount of pressure that has been built over the regions, and the pyroclastic materials break the plug that has been formed over the regions, it can be easily unplugged, and and there is a good amount of eruption of material comes out. It includes gas, it includes water vapor, it includes ash, it also produces pyroclastic. Pyro means fire, clastic inorganic. All these materials can be erupted, can be thrown when there is a volcanic eruption takes place with respect to it. When these kinds of volcanic eruptions takes place, hope copied. When these kinds of volcanic eruption takes place, we do get certain times we get a natural phenomena of vortex. Natural phenomena of volcanic vortex rings. One. How is this formed? The ash materials, the gases that is being released into the atmosphere, if all the, we will discuss about the conditions, if all the following conditions are adequate, very comfortable, a ring like structure can be formed in the atmosphere. and the ring can remain in the atmosphere, in the air, for few minutes to few hours. After that, because of the movement of the wind, movement of the air, the rings gets disintegrated, the materials move away from its structure, right. So, vortex is a natural phenomena, number one. Number two, this is formed under specific conditions. This is formed under specific conditions, which includes high pressure, high density, which is formed under high pressure and high velocity, high pressure and high velocity, where there is a rapid and forceful release of gases and pyroclastic materials. We already explained pyro means fire, clastic means inorganic. Rapid and forceful release of gases and pyroclastic materials are thrown into the atmosphere. This is number one. Number two, it also requires a suitable environment or conducive environment in which the density and stability of air are conducive for the formation of rings. Number three, shape and size of the vent. If the vent is narrow, vent as in the opening. We saw the volcanic feature. At the top of the volcanic feature, a vent will be there. Vent is nothing but a opening. If it is a very narrow vent, if it has been present, then concentrated release of materials can come. If it is a wider vent, wider opening is been there, the materials can not be so much concentrated. It is very simple. If I have a tap which has a very small hole, the pressure of the liquid which is going to come out, say water comes, will be high pressure. If the tap opening is extremely large, the pressure is going to be less. So, a narrow vent can release an extremely concentrated release of materials which are necessary for formation of rings. So, these are three conditions. We spoke about right velocity, number one. We spoke about right velocity, high amount of pressure, high velocity of the gases to be released, pyroclastic materials to be released, conducive environment in the atmosphere has to be there in terms of density and stability of air. If air is unstable, if the air moves up and down, there is a high amount of movement of air, then the rings cannot be formed. The rings will be disturbed with respect to it. So, the stability of the air, density of the air is also important. The shape and size of the vent. Hope copied. Right? And the rings that are formed, the rings which we already discussed, it's a natural phenomena. The rings that are formed can remain in atmosphere for few minutes to some hours. After that, it disintegrates. The volcanic vortex rings for the first time recorded in 1974 in Mount Etna, and Mount Vesuvius. Mount Etna and Vesuvius in 1974. Hope copied. Moving on to the next. The next topic will be INTRACT research station in Arctic. This INTRACT stands for International Network for Terrestrial Research and Monitoring in Arctic. The blue dots that you can see in these images will indicate the INTRACT research field bases. We do have 74 field base currently with respect to the Arctic regions. This is spread across in countries of Europe, North America and the Asia part, which are present within the Arctic regions, right. INTRACT, International Network for Terrestrial Research and Monitoring in Arctic, where we do have 74 field bases, right. The idea is to study, the objective is to study the environmental changes, objective to study environmental changes that are taking place in Arctic. Environmental changes that are taking place in Arctic. They study on the areas of glacial environment, wildlife. They study on the areas of ice cover, atmospheric conditions like climate, permafrost, these are the areas they do research on it. Recently, they have also reported more than 1000 billion tons of ice, more than 1000 billion tons of ice been lost in Arctic, over the last 4 decades. And this has been a much major issue when it comes to international discussions on climate change. One. Second, when there is a large amount of melting of ice takes place, this affects the weather pattern of countries, especially in the North Canadian regions and United States of America's Alaska part and the North European regions. These countries' weather patterns are radically affected because of the melting of sea ice in Arctic regions. Next one with respect to Iran and Israel tensions. So, we will go one after the other country. We will first see Iran and its geographical features, and then we will go on to Israel with respect to it. With respect to Iran, Iran shares boundary with Iraq. We will make a circle, right? Iraq, then you do have Turkey, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, Afghanistan and Pakistan. This is Armenia, this is Azerbaijan, we do have Turkmenistan, Afghanistan and Pakistan. So, Iraq, Turkey, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, Afghanistan and Pakistan. It also shares marine border with 3 places. One is Caspian Sea, another one is Persian Gulf, another one is Gulf of Oman. So, it shares marine borders with Caspian Sea, Persian Gulf, Gulf of Oman. See, we do know there is a country called Oman, and the adjoining region is called as Gulf of Oman. Iran's old name is Persia. Iran's old name is Persia, and the adjoining place, this one is Persian Gulf, and we do have Caspian Sea, which is the largest inland water body. Hope copied. The important geographical features in Iran: Zagros Mountains, Alborz Mountains. Two important geographical features. One is Zagros Mountains, another one is Alborz Mountains. In the Alborz Mountains, we do have Mount Damavand, which is a volcano. Damavand, which is the highest peak and also a volcano. We also have Lake Urmia, which is a salt lake in Iran. Lake Urmia, which is a salt lake in Iran. And as we do know well, Iran's major economic resource comes from the oil, petroleum and crude oil reserves. Moving on to the next with respect to the discussion point, which is Israel. It shares border with 4 countries: Lebanon, Jordan, Syria, Egypt. The 4 countries will be able to see Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and this part is Egypt. Sinai Peninsula of Egypt, it shares border with Sinai Peninsula of Egypt, and to its western side Mediterranean Sea. To its western side it has Mediterranean Sea. The other important features includes Negev Desert. It's part of African Rift Valley. We also have Jordan Rift Valley in the regions. So important features include Negev Desert in Israel, African Rift Valley, Jordan Rift Valley. Whereas Israel does not have much or rich in terms of oil resources like the other surrounding countries, but it has been much more technologically advanced over the years, and that's their major economic activity. Apart from this, as we started speaking about Jordan, we have an important river in the region which flows in the borders of the frontiers between Israel and Jordan. River Jordan flows in 5 regions or 4 countries, which includes Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Israel, Palestine. This is the region where the river basin of Jordan is being present. So they have been shared, and copied. the river Jordan, as its mouth in, or it drains into Dead Sea, See, the one notable feature what is happening in the Dead Sea and Jordan River is, see, the river flows in one of the dry regions of the world, desertic environments of the world, and the river is a major source of water, right? The river and its tributaries are the major source of water, where the country like Syria, Israel have built multiple numbers of dams and its structures in the tributaries of Jordan and in Jordan itself, because of which the water has been diverted and used for sources like agriculture, industrial development, domestic purposes. This all goes over it. So the flow, the annual flow rate of water in the tributaries and in the Jordan River largely reduces by multiple times. This has resulted in less amount of water flowing into Dead Sea, because of which the Dead Sea has been shrinking a lot in the recent time periods. The major reason for shrinking of Dead Sea is the amount of flow of water from the Jordan River is largely reduced, and the Dead Sea has been shrinking, drying and shrinking. Shrinking as in it dries, so the area capacity of the sea has been reducing over a period of time. So we use the word shrinking of Dead Sea is also been reported there. One of the most important tributary of Jordan River is Yarmouk, which Syria largely takes water from, and from the Jordan River, Israel largely takes the water. Apart from the Jordan River flow rate reduction, and it has an ecological impact on the Dead Sea, the other major issue that is revolving around Jordan River is the sharing of water within the riparian states. That is being affected largely because of the tensions that prevail between Israel and Syria, Israel and Lebanon, Israel and Palestine, Israel, Jordan. The tensions that has been prevailing, which has been acting as a hindrance for the easy or smooth flow of water between the riparian states. Right. Moving on to, hope copied. Moving on to the next topic, which is Paro. Paro is a place. This is the region of Paro. The shaded portion is the region of Paro, which is present in the western Bhutan. We have a river called as Paro River, which flows in a valley. All this comes under the name Paro. We have a Paro as a region, Paro River, and also Paro Valley. All these are present with respect to western Bhutan. Under the this came in news because of the Paro statement, which is speaking about the tiger conservation. We will discuss this under the topic of environment, geography and environment. Moving on to the next place, which is Katchatheevu, right? So you will be able to see this blue line is an boundary, international boundary between maritime boundary, international maritime boundary between India and Sri Lanka. The red spot indicates the Katchatheevu Island, which is an uninhabited island, most importantly from the geographical point of view, which is an island of volcanic origin. If you have to speak geologically, it's of young volcanic island, formed due to volcanic island, and geologically young. This is an uninhabited island. The surrounding regions around Katchatheevu is discussed in your India mapping, right? India and Myanmar. With respect to India and Myanmar regions, the news that came is with respect to India gains access to Sittwe port. India gaining access to Sittwe port, we again discuss in detail with respect to the geographical point, and we will speak how it can be used in international relations, how it can be used as in the places of transport geography, how to establish much more development and transport access to northeastern part of India. We will discuss this in geography and environmental section of recitals in depth. For now, we will see only the mapping part where we do have Kolkata. Similarly, there is a port in Myanmar called as Sittwe. Port in Myanmar, this is called as Sittwe port. This Sittwe port is present in Kaladan river. Sittwe port is present in Kaladan river estuary. Sittwe port is present in the Kaladan river estuary. So the idea is to connect Kolkata to Sittwe through Myanmar and through the Kaladan river to Aizawl, and from there we will be able to connect the northeastern part of India. We will discuss those in detail when we go on to geography and environment section. Moving on to India and Mauritius. Again, Mauritius is a island country. Volcanic in origin. Geologically young. Present in the Indian Ocean near Madagascar. Present in the Indian Ocean near Madagascar. Copied. The other important geographical features includes Mauritius is surrounded by good amount of lagoons and world's third largest coral reef ecosystem. World third largest coral reef ecosystems, and we also said this is a volcanic island in origin, but currently no volcanic activity, as in presently there is no volcanic or no longer volcanically active. Though being an volcanically origin, island of volcanic origin, it does not have any volcanic activity in the present conditions. Coming to the last and international places in news, right? Port of Baltimore, this is present in the east coast of USA. Port of Baltimore, present in the east coast of USA. One of the important port facility in eastern USA. This came in news because the bridge which gives the access to the marine has been damaged, and that's the reason it came in news. Moving further, Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, which is the largest nuclear power plant in Europe. Largest nuclear power plant in Europe, which is present in Ukraine. But under the control of Russia since 2022, which has been attacked again in the middle of war that has been taking place. So it's been in news. Copied. Next one, Romania. Romania is present in the eastern part of Europe. Romania present in the eastern part of Europe. The important geographical features includes, we do have an important river called Danube River, which flows close to 10 countries with respect to Europe, also flows in Romania, right? Danube Delta, Danube River, Danube Delta, Danube River, Danube Delta, Carpathian Mountains, Danube River, Danube Delta, and we do have Carpathian Mountains. It came in news because the world's powerful laser has been built in by researchers in Romania. Moving on to Botswana. Botswana came in news because the Botswana president even threatened at saying that I will send a number of elephants to Germany. That's why it came with respect to the news. Botswana is a landlocked country. Botswana is a landlocked country. The major geographical features includes Kalahari Desert. The major economic activity will be diamond. Kalahari Desert is Bushman tribe. 70% of Kalahari Desert will fall under the geographical location of Botswana. And the major economic activity is diamonds. The other important geographical features, Okavango Delta, Limpopo River. The other important geographical features includes Limpopo River Basin and Okavango Delta. Okavango Delta is one of the largest inland delta in the world. Limpopo River is an important river of Botswana. With respect to Syria and Saudi Arabia, these have been present with respect to Arabian Peninsula. The surrounding features of geography of Syria with respect to the most important feature, desert, and the Jordan River we already discussed a few minutes before. Saudi Arabia is one of the largest countries within the Arabian plateau, and the major resource will be economic, resource will be crude oil. Moving on to the next one, Ural River, origin from Ural Mountains. Ural River originating from Ural Mountains. Third largest river of Europe. Third largest river of Europe. Flows in Russia and Kazakhstan. Mouth will be Caspian Sea. Ural River originates from Ural Mountains, third largest river of Europe. Volga is the largest river, Danube is the second largest river, Ural is the third largest river. Russia flows in Russia and Kazakhstan. Mouth is Caspian Sea. It came in news because one of the river's dam or embankment got burst. That is why it has been in news. And moving on to the locations, Sittwe port, recently a slide before we discussed about the Sittwe port, which is present in the Caledon River estuary in Myanmar regions. Moving on to Taiwan. Taiwan has been news because of the earthquake which has been a devastating earthquake of more than 7 in Richter scale which happened, which is one of the most powerful earthquake that has happened in the last 25 years. Right? Taiwan is known for its economic activity of large amount of electronics industries, semiconductor industries. Moving to next and the last location, which is Cambodia. The two most important geographical features of Cambodia is, one is Mekong River, another one is Tonle Sap. We do have Mekong River, one of the most important rivers of Asia, Mekong River, and another one is Tonle Sap, which is a lake, which is a great lake of Cambodian regions. which is one of the most important lake with respect to Southeast Asia as well. Thank you.